sense, therefore, to consider Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. In the Vaishnava mantra, it's clearly stated that one who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all the rituals and activities of the sutras. And if one by chance sees his face, he should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of an infection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demonic life. Perpetually their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest regions of creation. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So Krishna consciousness, this is all about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We believe that, everything is a part and parcel of the Supreme. We recognize that there are demigods, but these demigods are all but parts of the Supreme, all but, part of the same whole. They're all servants, and that's our constitutional position in life, is servants of the Supreme. This material world was created because we wanted to be our own gods. We wanted to enjoy without God, to venture out on our own. And God is so merciful, Krishna is so merciful. This world was created for us. This is kind of like a prison, our own little prison house, meant for the souls that wanted to enjoy separately. Very much constructed like a prison. It's all this is temporary. The human form is the most precious form of life because this is the form that we have the chance for God realization. This is a chance that we can actually have a chance to serve God in our constitutional position. All these forms of life, the Vedas speak of 8,400,000 forms of life. And all these are just different prison cells to serve out time and serve out karma. And our position in life is based on our past karmic deeds. And karma simply is the results of our past actions. So those who have had really bad karma, they can be reborn into the animal kingdom and in the insect kingdom, into the plant kingdom. And that during that time, they're just serving their time out. There's a certain amount of time they have to serve in different forms of species, depending on their past actions, past karma, and past desires. But once that time is served, they get a chance at human birth. Human birth is kind of like going before the parole board. You get this chance again. You get this chance to decide whether to, pursue your material desires, continue to be trapped in this samsara, this cycle of birth and death, or to take up your constitutional position as a servant of God and start performing devotional service. Now, there's also higher births that you can take in another planetary system, higher planetary systems. This is, when you have really good karma. People perform great pious activities and humanitarian efforts. He'd be born as a demigod. He'd be born on one of the planets of the demigods, have an extra long life, have extra heavenly pleasures. It's kind of like the sense, different kinds of heavens out there. But that's also a place that you're serving time. You're serving time and paying off your good karma. Here in Krishna consciousness, we don't want karma. Devotional service is what purifies our karma. It's what purifies our past actions. So performing devotional service, chanting the Maha Mantra, serving our spiritual master. These all things are purifying ourselves in this human form of life. And our goal is to get down to zero karma, to wipe our slate clean. So we are not bound by karma and be bound to this world. Buddhism is a little different. They're also purifying their karma. They don't want karma either. They're trying to purify their karma. But their goal is different. Their goal is to merge with the whole. Everything is mind, one mind. They are destroying their individuality. It's destroying the individual. But here in Krishna consciousness, we believe that God loves individuals. And we're actually perfecting the individual self, perfecting ourselves to be the servants of God. There's many positions, as servants of God. This world, this material world, is just a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Just like where we have flowers and plants and animals and all these forms of life in this world, this is just a reflection of the spiritual world. So one can actually, when they're purified and go back and serve Krishna, depending on their desires of their service, they can actually be reborn and serve Krishna as a flower, to be spelled like, Krishna every day. To serve Krishna, as an animal in the spiritual kingdom, as a bird, or as a servant, or being his mother or his father. There's so many ways that Krishna has provided to serve him. There's all these different ways that he wants us to have a relationship with him. It's said that we can have a relationship with him as a servant, as a parent, as a child to him, as a lover to him. He wants a relationship with us. We're all parts and parcels of the whole. And so, through devotional service, this is how we are reconnecting with the divine, reconnecting with Krishna, reconnecting with God. And this is about the only real thing that we can really invest our time into, is devotional service, because everything else in the material world, well, it's just emptiness. It's an empty happiness. Material world, it's, the enjoying material senses. At first, it's like, it's like nectar. You get this, immediate, little bit of happiness right up front. But it's a depreciating return. You keep going back to try to get that same happiness over and over again. It becomes less and less and less until it's just like you no longer have that happiness anymore. It's like trying to enjoy your favorite movie. You enjoy your favorite movie so many times, but you watch it so many times in a row and every single day for weeks on end, you lose that joy out of it. Same thing with eating your favorite food. You keep on eating your favorite food over and over and nothing else. You lose that joy. It becomes more like a poison to you over time. It's like, oh, I don't want that again. I've had that 1,000 times this week. Anything in this material world is like that. There's a little bit of happiness up front, but it's empty. It's not fulfilling. You have to keep going back. You have to keep changing. You have to keep coming up with new plans to chase new happiness. A lot of people think that, if they had just enough money, they could be happy. We've seen with so many celebrities and actors and musicians that got that name, fame, wealth, and prestige. The first thing they return to is drugs and alcohol, because name, fame, wealth, and prestige and having this riches wasn't enough. They still needed to lean on something. And so many get caught up in their addictions. And their addictions become a poison. Their fame becomes a poison. For me, I used to love smoking weed. Oh boy. I smoked a lot of weed back in the day. Drank a lot of alcohol, did a lot of drugs. You know, that was great at a time, you know. At the beginning, smoking weed, yeah, I got a really good high, but over time, it took more and more to smoke, you know, to get to the same high, and eventually in life, drinking and smoking was just numbing myself out to life. It was no longer about the high, it was just numbing myself out to this world so I can just exist and work. Just be able to try to satisfy my senses. The devotional service is completely opposite. At first, devotional service can seem like poison, can seem very bitter, because the mind is so used to having this, you know, these quick moments of happiness, this quick dopamine rush, so to say. So at first, it seems very bitter. It takes time to persevere. You know, because here in Krishna consciousness, we do 16 rounds of the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We do 16 rounds on 108 beats. It takes us, you know, generally about 2 to 3 hours every morning. It's a nice mantra, but that purifies us. That helps, you know, create focus. That helps connect us to Krishna, because Krishna is the same with his name, with his form, with his pastimes, with his images. So as we begin to purify ourselves, you know, this bitterness eventually begins to go away. And with devotional service and over time, this bitterness begins to be turned into pure nectar. Once it was bitter, becomes so sweet. To where you're enjoying, you know, your meditation time with the Maha Mantra in the morning. You're enjoying the kirtans. You're enjoying, you know, seeing the deities every day. You're enjoying the association of the devotees. You're enjoying your service, whether it be washing dishes, cooking, cleaning. You find all kinds of enjoyment out of this. It's fulfilling. It's not empty. Are there any questions so far on this?
No, it's everything I've picked up everywhere else, so this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Okay. Yeah, because, you know, Krishna, or God, has given so many avenues to find them. Whether it be, you know, through Christianity, whether it be through Islam, whether it be through Judaism, you know, so many ways God has, you know, made ways to attract people. We're all on the path at different times. You know, some people find shelter in those other religions. Some people don't. You know, some people, you know, need the Krishna consciousness. A lot of us, that's our main goal here in Krishna consciousness, is to make sure that people, or at least recognize that there's a God, to have a relationship with Him. When we come across Christians, or, you know, Muslims, or, you know, Jews, we're always like, yeah, that's great. Make sure you have a relationship with them. We're not here to convert everyone and become a Hare Krishna. You know, that's not how God created the world.
I find shelter in all of them, and I find the greatest light in existence is to not separate others from ourselves, and to not separate ourselves from others.
Yes. We're all one and the same, and the Bhagavad Gita teaches that God's within all of us. There's our super soul, Paramatma, which is a little piece of God within each and every one of us. And so it's like here in the temple, we refer a lot of times to each other as Prabhu, which means Lord. I tease my God brothers, like, if I can't remember your name, I just call you Prabhu. Hey, Prabhu, by the way.
The God spark.
Yeah. So I'm going to move on to text 13. Translation. O son of Pritha, Those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Purport. In this verse, the description of Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of Mahatma is that it is already situated in divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this effected? That is explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's a preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Divyam, Prakritam, divine nature. So when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of great soul, Mahatma. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna, because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma, or a great soul, develops through the association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. Since they are not attracted to the other features of Krishna, what to speak of the demigods? They are not concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They only meditate upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. Text 14. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Purport. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping or ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the Personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of the glorification is here, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the supreme feature, to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmajyoti, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shrivana, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, and remembering him. Such a Mahatma is firm determination to achieve at 5 transcendental rasas. What was that? Determination to achieve at the ultimate end of the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the 5 transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal. Everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, that is called full Krishna consciousness. Devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and the appearance day of the Lord, etc. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the 2nd verse of this chapter, this devotional service is not only easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, in any position, either as a household or a sannyasi or brahmachari. In any other position anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus become actually a Mahatma, a great soul. That's the thing about all of our practices. Doing our rounds in the morning, to hearing kirtan, to singing to the deities, dancing and singing before the deities, serving our spiritual master, doing our devotional service. All these things, we are preparing ourselves for the time of death. Because at the time of death, that's when it counts. At the time of death, your desire leads you on. Just like in Buddhism, they believe that desire, leads you on to your next life. That's why they're trying to, get rid of all their desires and become, have no desire. In Krishna consciousness, it's quite opposite. We're not trying to get rid of all of our desires. We're trying to transform all of our desires to become desires for Krishna, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we are desiring to do service for Him, when we're desiring to hear kirtan, when we're desiring to eat prasadam. Prasadam is food that we have offered to the deities first. And the deities partake, and then we have the leftovers. And the deities, they're basically like a vessel. And it's this vessel that, that God has been personally invited, to be there. We've personally invited God to be there in this vessel so that we can, partake and serve Him. Everything in this temple revolves around the deities. We're basically the servants in this temple. We're serving the deities. So each and every day, the deities, get woken up. We have Mangal Arati. We sing and dance before them. We offer water. We offer flowers. We offer incense. We offer food. They also get bathed every day. They also get clothed every day. They get decorated every day. And they also get prepared for bed every day. So this invitation for God to be present allows us to be able to serve Him. It's a really nice way of,
way of nurturing God.
Yeah, nurturing God. And so we take it very seriously. So when we cook for Him, we want the best ingredients, the freshest ingredients. And when we're cooking, we're continually, thinking about, this is going to be, this is making this for God. This got to be good. We got to, put our heart and soul into it. So we have some of the best food around here. I tell you what. Most people become addicted to the food, and they end up becoming brahmacharis and joining the movement over just eating the food. Because it's so good. But as I was saying, we're preparing ourselves for time of death. Purifying our karma by transforming our desires. So at the time of death, I've had a near-death experience before, to where your life flashes before your eyes. It really does. It's a strange thing. Seconds become like minutes. But if we're doing our devotional service every day and, everything's revolving around Krishna, it's going to be very easy to remember Krishna at the time of death. For us, that's doing this for years on end. These are going to be the last images we see, of us doing our devotional service. So it's really nice. But let's say that one does not get purified, and enough, you know, by the time they meet death. And one does not have their desires purified where they only desire Krishna. Well, nothing is lost in devotional service. Bhagavad Gita states that nothing is diminishes through devotional service. This carries on from lifetime to lifetime, and because that we use the human body correctly and accordingly, we get a fast pass back to human birth. Those who don't use a human body, you know, the correct way, it can be very easily recycled back into the animal kingdom, or the plant kingdom, or, you know, into bugs, you know, all kinds of things, you know, serve time there.
I think the best way I can say that is to physically die is to spiritually be somewhere else, but also that in those last moments of your physical death, if all you can remember is the gratitude of serving others, then you will arrive spiritually where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, because even, you know, like in Buddhism, there's this concept in Buddhism that they are, many of them are holding off enlightenment so they can keep coming back and serve humanity over and over again. And, you know, there's a kind of concept in, you know, Krishna consciousness, even though, you know, we're trying to become liberated from this material birth and death. But they say a pure devotee does not care, you know, where they end up, because anywhere they can go, they can serve Krishna. And by serving Krishna, especially in human form, you're serving everyone. Because we're out there, we go out there every day, you know, we're looking for souls that are wanting to escape this world, you know, so we're chanting the Maha Mantra, we're singing it in public. This helps waken the soul, purify the souls around us, you know, gives them a chance at human birth in the future life. And even all these living entities that are around us, you know, these plants, insects, animals, and they hear the Maha Mantra, that's purifying them, they're awakening, that gives them a chance at human birth to be able, you know, turn into service. And so, you know, humanitarian work, you know, is part of it, you know, serving everyone. You know, that's probably like one of the things that both paths agree on, you know, between Buddhism and Krishna consciousness, Vaishnavism, serving. We'll move on to any questions or comments?
I feel like Buddhism is the Gnosticism removed from Hinduism, kind of a way.
Well, yeah, well, Buddhism was born out of Hinduism. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the thing to always remember. So there's a lot of similarities with Buddhism and Hinduism. Mm-hmm. But Buddhism kind of, they rejected a lot of the Vedic ideas because there's some aspects of the Vedas that talked about, you know, animal sacrifice, you know, like the goddess Kali. Those that, you know, wanted to eat meat, you know, they allowed animal sacrifice for that.
Kali had some minor problems, I'll admit that.
Yeah, but yeah, very similar because Buddhism was born out of Hinduism, and they kind of changed some of the concepts. They strayed away from the spirit soul to where everything is mind. And mind is continuing on, not some sort of, you know, spirit soul. So there's some stark differences there.
I believe we need balance between the mind, the heart, the spirit, and the body. Yes, I don't think you can't just focus on one and expect everything.
Yeah. We'll move on to, we've got about 6 minutes left. You know, where were we on? Text 14 before?
Yeah.
Text 15. Others who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second, diverse in many and in the universal form. Purport. The verse is the summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatmas. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of the Mahatmas, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them are already described as the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are all divided into three. 1, he who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. 2, he who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that. And 3, he who accepts the universal form, the Vishvarupa, or the Supreme Personality Godhead, and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, think themselves to be Manyas, are most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, where they can understand that they are not the material body, but are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who are by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also the form of the Lord. Text 16. But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. Report. Sacrifice known as Jyotishtoma is also Krishna, and he is also the Mahayagya. The obligations offered to the Prichaloka, or the sacrifice performed to please the Prichaloka, considered as a kind of drug in the form of clarified butter, is also Krishna. The mantras chanted in this connection are also Krishna, and many other commodities made with milk products for offering in the sacrifice is also Krishna. The fire is also Krishna, because fire is one of the 5 material elements and is therefore claimed as a separated energy of Krishna. In other words, Vedic sacrifices recommended in the Karmakanda divisions of the Veda are also Krishna. Or in other words, those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. Any last minute questions or comments before we conclude class? Alrighty. Bhagavad Gita ki jai!